this is today's kind of topic: how to establish successful client and agency relationships. And we'll be covering like two main areas. So the first one of those is, what do good and bad agency client relationships look like? And then the second one is how to create and maintain a successful agency client relationship. And then we'll be doing like an open kind of question session at the end too. I just want to make sure that these GIFs are working, because like that's why I'm screen sharing instead of just uploading my my presentation today. I want to make sure that everyone gets the full value behind my GIFs. I love to use a GIF in a presentation. So this is what we'll be covering: what do good and bad agency client relationships look like, how to create and maintain successful agency client relationships, and then an open Q&A towards the end. However, I will also, like my style on these webinars, on these sessions, is I love to take questions as we go. So if any of you need kind of support on anything, have questions about what I'm sharing, I would encourage you to type them in the chat as we're going. I know that it looks like on the live session right now, we have a fairly, I'm not too sure the size of the group, maybe a fairly small group. So this is a really great opportunity actually for us to kind of get in the weeds together and see how I can support you, or maybe share some of my experiences with all of you who are here on today's session live. And then if anyone's tuning in on the replay of this or watching the recording of this, this is an encouragement for you to try and join the next session live so that you can ask questions in real time. But this is what we'll be covering today. And before we jump into that, I feel like it's only right if I do a little bit of an introduction. I won't spend too much time on this because this webinar is about all of you who are watching rather than me, but it makes sense to just to set the scene a little bit, so you know why should you take any of my advice, or why should you be listening to me. So my name is Dylan. I am the co-founder and CEO of an agency called Hey Digital. And we were founded around about 3 years ago, or have been the way we are for about 3 years. I think officially I set the company up 4 years ago, last month. But Hey Digital has been an agency the way it is now for 3 years. And we are a completely remote team. So myself and my co-founder are based here in Tallinn in Estonia. And then we have a team of 12 full-time team members right now, and a number of other contractors that we work with across all over the world, really. We've built this remote first team, which is really important to us. So we have people in the Philippines, in Brazil, in Turkey, in India, in Portugal, in Thailand, lots of different places, which is really great. And we work specifically with paid advertising and CRO. So we do paid advertising campaigns, landing pages, ad creatives for B2B SaaS companies. So we have a very specific audience, very specific segment of the market that we go after. And I would like to think we do that pretty well. We work with some of the most exciting SaaS companies in the world, companies like Hotjar, Stream, Userleap. Our clients have raised combined like hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. And I'm also the host of a top podcast, which is called the SaaS Marketing Show. So we've been a little bit slow on uploads for that recently, but it's one of the top marketing podcasts around the world. And I interview CMOs, VPs of marketing, marketing leaders at B2B SaaS companies. So we've interviewed people like ClickFunnels, the head of marketing at ClickFunnels, Drift, Calendly, like all of these kind of companies. So that's a little bit about me, and that is why I'm leading this session today. I don't work for PromoRepublic. I just have a really great relationship with the team. I think PromoRepublic is a really awesome tool and a really great company. And so they have asked me to come back and support with some webinars, which is really great because I did this a couple of years ago now. And PromoRepublic are one of the few companies that really do invest time and energy and resources into providing training and support for agency owners, founders, and for their customers, and don't expect anything in return. Like, I'm not going to be demoing the product today or pitching anything, and I think it's really rare to see that. So kudos to the team at PromoRepublic, and thank you for all of you who are joining today's session. So let's get into things. Let's discuss, first of all, what should you look out for when looking at clients or thinking about new clients for your agency. Let's discuss some typical signs of good clients, bad clients, and cover some action points to help you select the kind of client that is a good fit for you. Now, if any of you joined the last webinar we did, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, you'll see one slide in here that I actually took from that last webinar because I think it's a really important slide, but we're going to go over it in a little bit more depth today, and then actually share some really practical, actionable stuff. So I pulled this statistic when I was putting together this deck, and it's that 2 out of 3, or 2/3 of brands, sorry, work with 3 or more digital agencies simultaneously. And so I wanted to put this in, not to scare all of you agency owners here who are like myself, but to just say that like there are plenty of agencies out there, and there's a lot of competition out there, and your clients will be comfortable and used to working with multiple agencies. Like they have a lot of choice, and that means that they have a lot of choice, but you also have a lot of choice. There's plenty of fish out there for all of us to catch. And so I think it's really important that you just bear that in mind. Like they're used to working or switching through agencies. You have plenty of choice out there, and we should consider these things, because I think a lot of agencies, when they first get started especially, will work with anyone that comes their way. And I think this is one of the major problems that leads to poor client and agency relationships, is trying to take on board anyone that comes to you and anyone that wants to work to you or work with you. So this may seem really obvious, but the first thing that I consider when trying to identify a good client, a bad client, what might make a successful agency-client relationship is, as obvious as it sounds, like how do they make you feel when you talk to them? Now, this is something that I will put my hand up to and say that I have learned this the hard way. Like running this agency for the last couple of years, we've also made plenty of mistakes. I'm not perfect, but we're at a space where I think we're really learning and have things pretty well smoothed out and working well for us right now. And one thing that I'm really picky on is the kind of client that we work with. And I think that's really helping our growth and our success. And so you'll have all, actually let me know in the chat, how many of you have experienced this, where you sign a new client and pretty quickly you can tell that it's going to be a struggle, or they make you feel like this little guy on the right hand side where you're ready to explode at any moment, or they're very frustrating, or they're not easy to work with. How many of you have had that feeling? I'm sure I'd be mind blown if nobody replies to that right now. I think we've all had that, right? And ideally, we all want to feel like this guy on the left. We all want to be happy and excited and valued, but we also have to take into account that I think we'd be living in a dream world if we expected to feel that way 24/7 with all of our clients, right? But this is something that I really take into consideration at the early stages when thinking about the right clients, the wrong clients. Is like, how do they treat us? How do they make us feel? Are we seeing potential issues or signs early on into the relationship? And so this we'll talk about a little bit later on, about how important the initial stages of an agency client relationship are. But this is something to really bear in mind. And I think too many people in this world kind of go against their gut feeling. I see Anna says absolutely. I see Sierra shares a laughing emoji too, right? Like too many people in this agency space feel like, oh, we've got this client. Yes, they're annoying. I don't like working with them, but I'm just going to continue anyway because they provide consistent, stable income or something. And I really don't know why agency founders or owners do that, because you can really have your pick of clients. There are so many people out there that would love to work with you. And I really want you to approach it from that way of you holding the power almost, rather than the client all of the time. So this seems really obvious, but something that I really want all of you to consider. Now, this is a slide that I took from the last webinar that I did. I just modified it ever so slightly. I wanted to share, like, from my experience over the last 2.5, 3 years, some things or some signs that point towards good clients and bad clients, and what triggers or alerts I look out for. And I would love anyone who's watching right now to message in the chat also if you have anything that you would like to add to this, because of course there are loads of different signals and signs of good clients, bad clients, etc. But I wanted to pull out a couple of those. And so we can start with good, and then we can jump onto bad. Like, the good clients are ones that are good communicators. You're excited to work together, like we touched on the last slide. One thing that I've really learned is that it's really important to work with clients who have the resources that you need. And so to give an example to that, like, we run paid ads for B2B SaaS companies. We do the creative for all of the ads. We're very, very talented at what we do, and we drive great results for our clients. However, although we can do a great job, we like to work with clients that we know are going to see success. And so in the SaaS world, if you don't have a inbound funnel that's working well, if you're not doing good content marketing, if your organic kind of traffic isn't working well for you, or if your sign up process isn't well converting, we know that yes, we could run ads, but it's not the best fit for us. Like, we want to work with people that are the best at what they do and have the resources available to help us help them. And so that's an example of what I mean here, is like, I would like to work with clients who have all of their ducks in a row, if you will. Now, I say also a good client is one that has an understanding of marketing. However, this isn't always needed. The reason I put this in is we've had better experiences with dealing directly with VPs of marketing or marketing leaders rather than CEOs. And often the CEOs, if they're a marketing CEO, if they like come from marketing background, it's easier. But if they're a CEO who's very much focused on sales numbers, it's going to be more challenging for us to work with them and communicate with them, because we're going to have to be teaching them a lot as we go. And that's not something that we really want to do too much as an agency. We want to be able to spend our time delivering on what we know we're really great at. And then something else to consider is, have you had success with similar clients to these before? Now, we have a very defined niche at my agency. However, we still, within that niche, we know kind of types of clients that we do better for than others. So for example, we may do better for self-service SaaS businesses than enterprise-focused SaaS businesses. That's not entirely the case for us, but it's one use case that you can consider. For any of you watching, I don't know what kind of agencies you will run. I would imagine most of you are running social media marketing agencies or ads agencies too. Some of you may have had great experiences with, let's say, restaurants, but really challenging experiences with direct-to-consumer brands or something like that. So these are things that I like to consider when looking at potential new clients. There's a lot of other stuff too, and we're going to cover some of that a little bit later on. But some signs of bad clients, people that have burned through multiple agencies. If you ever get on the phone with someone and they say, we just got rid of our last agency, we've tried 3 different agencies over the last 12 months and just hasn't worked out for us. That raises a little red flag in my mind of, okay, I would understand if it's maybe once, but if it's 3 times, it's highly unlikely that all 3 of those agencies have done a really bad job. Something else I really, myself personally, am strict on is time and boundaries. If we have defined times for when we have our calls and our meetings, and the clients are always missing those, or always rearranging them, or are always running each meeting over by 15 or 20 minutes, that to me is a sign of someone that doesn't respect time. Someone that's always trying to call the shots. Now, we love our clients to have input and support us in our campaigns. However, they hired me or they hired you and your team for a reason. And that's because you're experts at what you do. And so you need to be able to be given the freedom to lead on those projects. And then my experience has been, and give me like a hands up emoji in the chat if you felt this too, the clients that pay the least often expect everything in return. They expect the most in return. The clients that pay the least are often the hardest to work with. And so, of course, when you first start, you are more tempted to take on quote unquote lower paying clients to get that experience, etc. But I really would encourage all of you. One of my really big learnings is we never took on really, really cheap clients, but we did start our pricing a lot less than it is today. Like if you told me our agency's pricing today, 14 months ago, 18 months ago, I'd be kind of surprised that we're able to get all of our clients to pay us that much. But one thing that I've learned is those clients that are paying the least are often the ones that take the most work. Like I think I saw a funny meme on like Instagram the other day about how like a $50,000 a month retainer client, you'd send them something for approval and they'd say, yep. And then like a $500 a month client would share like a 3-page Google Doc of all the things that they need changing, right? And it's really true in my experience too. And I see that Sierra, we have a little hand up saying, just said this yesterday. So I know that I'm not the only one here. So that's all like great and useful. But we're going to get into actually some practical things in a second. Before we get to any of that though, I think one thing that's really, really important at the beginning of starting an agency, and something that I personally have really focused in on with my team and with our business, is we have to be crystal clear about who we want to work with and what we stand for as an agency. I think too many companies, they share with their team, with their clients, with the world, hey, this is what we stand for. These are our core values. This is what a good client is to us. This is what a bad client is to us, etc. But they don't follow through on those values or on those beliefs that they have. Now, we stick very true to what we say as a team and as a business. And I think the clearer you are about who you want to work with and why you want to work with them and who your target customer is and who the best customer for you is and how you communicate with your clients, how you collaborate, the clearer you are on those things, the easier your life will be and the better your agency will become. So this is something that I also want you all to consider. And you might be saying now, hey Dylan, that's great, but what now? How do we get to a point where we're not only creating these relationships, but we're actually maintaining these relationships? Like, okay, we understand what a good client looks like, what a bad client looks like. We understand some triggers and signals around those and things that we should consider. What's our next move? What do we do next? And so that's what I'm going to tell you right now. And I'm going to share a few things. Now, for me, one thing that I have learned over the last 3 years is that relationships in the agency sense, like I used to truly believe, and some of you may feel this way also. I used to believe when starting my agency that as long as we get great results, our clients will be happy. They'll stay with us. It'll be a really easy experience. But I've actually learned that honestly, the results are probably only 50% of what's important, sometimes even less. And what's actually important is the relationship that you have with the client. Do they feel comfortable? Do they feel like they know what's going on? Are they in a position where they're impressing their boss or their seniors with the work that you're doing for them? Are you going to get them promoted kind of thing? Are you meeting targets and objectives? Do they feel listened to and understood? And are they feeling like they're enjoying the experience? And I used to believe that we could drive amazing results and that's all that mattered. But I've learned that isn't the case too. And has anyone else experienced that so far in their agency? I'd be really interested to know. So the way that we've really focused on trying to build and sustain long-lasting, successful relationships is by really setting us up for success from the very, very beginning. And I think this is something that many agencies don't dedicate enough time to and often forget. So they'll kind of land a new client, jump straight into the project. We've spent, I don't even want to say, or I don't even know exactly, I would say probably like hundreds of hours on our onboarding systems, our backend systems, our processes internally as a team, so many different things. And so I couldn't, for like one 30-minute webinar, I couldn't pick out absolutely everything that we do. So I picked out 2 or 3 practical elements of what we do as a team that I think will help everyone here out. So we're gonna jump into those. One of them is I want you to consider, what does your client onboarding experience look like? Is it clear and well defined? Is it automated or systemized? How could you improve it? How many of you have like an onboarding process? Even like, it doesn't have to be a tool or automations, but how many of you have a defined and structured onboarding process? Like, okay, we land a client, then this happens, then this happens, then this, then this, and this, and this. I would love to hear that from you. So we spend a lot of time on our client onboarding processes. And I'm going to get to some of the stuff in the back end in a second, but the first point of call is all of the client-facing experience. So when someone joins us, like this on the right-hand side of my screen is just a snapshot of a type form, which I'm going to show you all in a second for client onboarding. But when someone signs with us or gives us the go-ahead that they want to work with us, we have this whole system of like emails that go out. So we have an automated email sequence that goes out to them with the contract, with the invoice. Once the invoice is paid and the contract is signed, it then triggers the next steps in the email. We have like a 4-step email chain, which explains exactly what our onboarding process is, exactly what clients can expect from us, exactly what they need to complete and what they need to fill in. And they see that email chain. And then the next point of call for them is the onboarding form. And so I'm sure many of you, if you're running social media marketing agencies, if you're running ads agencies, you need to learn about your customer. Most people get on a phone call and they spend an hour on a call asking loads of questions that actually you could have collected those questions ahead of the call and had a much more productive call by going deeper into those questions. So we set up an onboarding form. I'm going to switch my screen share. Can you all let me know whether or not you can see this? I'm just checking in the webinar software. It looks like you can. So I'll just continue, but if anyone has any problems, let me know. We built an onboarding type form. We just use type form. You see here, it takes 7 minutes. And we learned from all of our previous clients that we'd worked with, what are the common questions that come up? What are the things that we need to know before starting work? We collect it all in a type form. So like company name information. Let's see if I can skip through these. Company name, their average deal size, their lifetime value, the KPIs they want to work on, their current cost per lead from paid ads, target cost, countries they want to target, competitors, their tool stack, showing how they provide us access to all the accounts like that we need access to, checking in with some questions. Like you get the idea, right? Sharing some emails, asking for information around their ideal customer. Like it will take someone really about 30 minutes to complete this, and they complete all of this, and it gives us all of the information that we need to be able to begin our work and set up that first call with them. And all of that is automated too. And so when a client comes to us, when they go through our onboarding flow, we usually get comments about how smooth of an experience that is. I would imagine a lot of you right now, when you're onboarding your clients, that you are probably going back and forth on email, on a lot of phone calls, and it's just a disjointed experience for your client. And so I really would encourage you to think about what can you do to smooth that out. And so Sierra said that looks super smooth and easy. Yeah, it's really smooth. We have a lot of stuff that I'm not even showing here because it would just take too much time, but like email automations that go out, call bookings, like everything is really easy and really smooth for our clients on the front end. And the reason I'm saying this when we're talking about successful client agency relationships is that you really want to start on the right foot and set a great expectation and experience. And one other thing I wanted to show you on this section of the webinar is we also have, this is the wrong, okay. This is the wrong thing. If you, let me just try something here real quick. I was going to show all of you, I'm just going to move this screen. I was going to show all of you this one document that we created, which I don't think many agencies do. As a piece of advice I got from a friend of mine or another agency owner, and it was to create what he called an expectations document or an expectations agreement that gets shared with your clients before you start working with them. So I'm going to show you this because I think a lot of people wouldn't have seen something like this before. And I believe that you'll see some great value in this. So this is just going to load up. Okay, so we also send something like this, or this exact template, just with client information in, to all of our clients as part of the nurturing flow or the onboarding flow. We ask them to read through this, to sign it, and we sign it too. And it's an expectations agreement. So we talk about, hey, we're really excited about getting started on our work together. We've worked with lots of great companies. We promise to stick to all of this below. Like we wouldn't ask you to do anything that we wouldn't do ourselves. And so you'll see it's things like, okay, you agree that it's your responsibility to be really honest with us and let us know how things are going. You agree that the improvement of your business doesn't start and end with us. Of course, we can help, but you need to improve things like sales process, etc. Setting some expectations around giving us a net promoter score each month, and we'll talk about that later on. Some stuff about you agree and understand that changing the original goals agreed upon during our kickoff process are unacceptable. Just like really important things here that set expectations very clearly from the beginning. And so I really would encourage everyone to think about something like that too. And this is all about, on the front end, making the experience for your customer really smooth and setting expectations. This is really key to successful agency-client relationships. Are any of you watching? Have any of you done something like this before, implemented something like this? Is this something new, something interesting, something you might try? I would love to get some kind of real-time feedback on that. And then we are going to get into 2 other practical tips. I'm just going to have some drink. This isn't like a can of beer or anything either. I just want to make that super clear. It's a sparkling tea that I'm drinking here. I see Sierra says we have a shorter version of this. So it's great. It's great that some people have thought about these ideas before too. Okay, so let's go to the second thing I wanted to share. Now, what I've shown or shared with you so far is on the front end, right? Like what the customer sees or what the client sees. Now, the next thing is, okay, you've made the front end process really smooth and really simple for the client, but what about the back end? How do you do things in the back end? Now, this screenshot or this GIF on the left is a GIF from my project management software, which is called ClickUp. there's lots of tools out there you can use: ClickUp, Asana, Trello, whatever you want. I just want to show you how we do things. So we've spent a lot of time. Each time we've onboarded a new client, we know what happens. We learn more every single time. Steve says, hope you're recording this. Yes, Steve, it is being recorded. So we've learned all of the different steps that we take, and we, in the back end of our business, are trying to systemize as much as possible so that it's very easy for us to onboard new clients. We know what to do. Anyone on the team or anyone in the right positions on the team knows what to do. It's very clear. And so we invested a lot of time, resources, money as well into our systems build out. And so what I'm actually going to show you real quick is inside our ClickUp. I could spend hours talking about ClickUp. I see that Sierra says, do you like ClickUp? Yeah, I love it. Our business couldn't operate without this. I can't show everyone all of our ClickUp. There's too much in here. But what I wanted to show you is we've created a template. So you see here, this is our process library or templates library. And we've created a template which is called the client process templates. And here you'll see this is all of our client onboarding templates. And so when a new client joins Hey Digital, my operations manager presses a couple buttons and it creates a new client in ClickUp, and it automatically fills all of these tasks, and then it automatically assigns all of the tasks to the right people with the right due dates. We use some custom fields here to make sure it gets assigned to operations manager or CEO or junior designer, creative director, etc. And we've mapped out for literally the first few weeks of working with us, every single thing that we need to do for our client, starting from onboarding configuration. And you'll see there's a checklist in here of create the internal Slack channel, add due dates, add an entry in the account dashboard, add KPIs, etc. All the way through to send a welcome message, create design form request, review assets. If you take a look at this, we have loads of things in the client onboarding section. And a lot of these have checklists and subtasks underneath them. Then we have review and strategy tasks. So for our reporting calls and check-in calls, for launching and building campaigns, etc. We have basically built out systems and templates for everything that we repeat or do for all of our clients. And so the reason I wanted to show you this is you have on the front end this smooth, simple process so that your clients feel like you really know what you're doing. And then when they get into your agency, you have systems to use in the back end so that your team can deliver on the work really well. And this is really important to building successful agency client relationships. We didn't have this from the very beginning, of course, and our life is a lot easier now and our clients are a lot happier now, even though they don't see all of this and they don't know about all of this. It enables us to deliver a better service. So I would recommend investing time and money in your back-end systems and tools. This is our project management system, but then we'll use we're a paid ads agency, so we'll use different paid ads tools with our clients. We'll set them up on. We have some Google Sheets automations and templates that we use for reporting, for creating new ads campaigns, etc. If you're a social media marketing agency, it could be a great time to consider how a tool like PromoRepublic could support your workflow and how you could build out your systems and kind of objectives and day-to-day tasks around a tool like PromoRepublic. So this is something to consider, of course. And then once we've done these things on the front end, once we've built a smooth onboarding process, once we've built great systems in the back end, you actually need to go ahead and deliver on the great service that you promised, right? You're not going to have successful client agency relationships without delivering. I know I said earlier, I was shocked at how much of the relationship actually matters, because it does. But at the same time, you can have a great relationship but really poor service quality, and they're still going to struggle to stick with you or stick around with you. So you need to deliver on that great service that you promised. And you need to keep on top of how your clients are feeling and how your agency is performing by, my suggestion is to do NPS scoring, Net Promoter Scoring. So this is a screenshot from our NPS dashboard. I just blurred a couple things out, but every single month we send out an NPS feedback survey to all of our clients. We use a tool to do this. So the tool is called Retently. You see the name of it just down here, Retently. And that basically, we customize a few different emails and stuff. And part of the onboarding process when a new client joins us is their email gets put into Retently. And then once a month, they get an NPS they get an NPS survey from us where it asks them to rate us from 0 to 10. Anyone that scores a 9 or a 10, they're promoters. Passives, I think, are anyone from 5 to 8, or maybe wrong around that, and then detractors are anyone below that. So you want as many greens and oranges as possible. I was doing some research today at like what's a good, quote unquote, good net promoter score for an agency, and I think it was like between 0 and 30 is like considered good. So this is how one of the ways we keep on top of how our clients are feeling. Of course, we have our reporting calls with them. We do calls twice a month with our clients. So we do a end of month reporting and then a quick check-in call. We have a shared Slack channel with basically all of our clients as well. So we're on top of how they're feeling a lot, but this is kind of a practical way to keep on top of that too. And so if you're not doing NPS scoring for your clients, I would recommend doing it. The only drawback is not all of them will complete it. I would say maybe only 1 in 3 of our clients does this, like a third of our clients completes this. And that's something that I need to follow up with them about, because in our expectations agreement, it was, hey, you will do this every single month. So that's something that I was actually thinking about earlier today. But I would definitely recommend doing this. Even if you only get 1 in 3 or 1 in 2 people doing this, it still gives you data to work with and supports you. So there are, of course, many areas to consider about how you can have successful client and agency relationships. But I think this is for today's like time frame that we have. I know we're 33 minutes in right now. So I think this is a really good place to start to not wrap this session up, because we're going to go to questions if people have them, but to kind of end my points. I have one quick kind of announcement or thing to touch on before we go to questions. So I would say if you have questions that you want to ask, either me or anyone else on this session, start typing them away in the chat now, so that when I finish this, there'll hopefully be a question or 2 there. Also, if there's no questions, that's also completely fine. But as I said, if you're here live, I really would encourage you, like, it can be about agency client relationships, or to be honest, anything agency related. Like, I would love to jam with some of you and help some of you out. But